Today's episode is sponsored by Billy Keel's Advisory Services. If you want to learn more about how to make your 99 optional, just go to makeitoptional.com. Once again, that's makeitoptional.com.
Helping you build freedom without losing your edge. This is the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels.
You know what? I've heard that it's been said that the key to figuring out how to solve future problems is understanding what comes from the past, or some would say understand your history. And you know what? Today's special guest, well, he's doing exactly that, because from his educational background, which I'm sure he'll tell us a little bit about, maybe just a little bit, and then a stop in what I would like to call the corporate life, he's really been able to carve out a niche for himself. And now he's helping you to organize not just your DMs, yes, I did say direct messages, with labels, reminders, and also being able to connect to things like Claude. Is that even possible? To help you triage and also be able to truly define and connect with those that you want. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the co-founder of Kondo.com, Mr. Mitchell Tan. Mitchell, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. Cool to be here.
Man, this is such an awesome, I'm really excited for you to be here because, as well, many people will know more about how you and I met in the beginning, but also seeing what you continue to do. You've been able to carve out a very unique niche, understanding that there are some very specific problems, and also being able to cause or help to provide solutions to those problems. And so you and I know one another. But if it's okay with you, I would love for you to share, Mitchell, a bit of your backstory. And then when you share your backstory, you know what? I would really like to see where we take the conversation from there. How's that sound to you?
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm just a regular guy. Went to college, right? Studied history. Thought I wanted to read books for a living and write books for a living. So did that. Spend all my time in libraries. But then at some point, I was like, hey, there's a world out there. Maybe I should go see what's beyond the library. So I took a brief hiatus from libraries and took my first job in a marketing consultancy. So we basically help big brands like Procter and Gamble, like Google, right? Car companies position their products for new markets, understand how to distribute in very different cultures, how to innovate, right? For new consumer segments. So I did that job for a good 4 years starting out. At first I thought, it's just gonna taste a corporate role and then just go right back to libraries. But as it turns out, two things happened. One, it was kind of fun, right? I got to understand, for example, one thing I learned, I traveled to Chile, Santiago in Chile in South America, and I learned that the kind of ways people think about responsibilities in household are really different, right? Men actually it's quite common for men to do the dishes and go cook and do all these things that in say American culture might be associated with the woman's role in the household, right? So I got to see all these things and learn all these things. So that was kind of fun. Other thing that happened was COVID. So the world kind of stopped, and making career changes was a question mark, right? So did that for a while, and then found my way into the tech startup world. That this was a kind of zero interest rate era where cash was awash in the tech startup scene. So joined a company and then learned how a startup operates. And that was really the start of how I got to where I am now. At that point, we use LinkedIn a lot to do B2B sales. So that's quite common now. But even 5 years ago, this was not an accepted norm for everyone. People were still cold emailing, right? And the idea of using personal connections on LinkedIn, over the internet to do sales was still rather early. And so I did lots of that and I sent thousands and thousands of LinkedIn messages, right? And one thing I noticed was like, hey, I'm working in a tech startup world, making everything faster, better, right? But here I am sitting with my LinkedIn inbox and like adding things to a spreadsheet manually, out of because I couldn't keep track of them, right? Like, and I was scared to miss stuff, right? Because we're doing sales, and like the guy replies, and you miss a reply, then what was the point of you doing all that work, right? So here I was spreadsheeting my messages for a long time, and I'm sure lots of people spreadsheet lots of stuff, right? This is quite common, but I was like, I don't spreadsheet my emails. I spreadsheet something. Like why am I spreadsheeting messages, right? Like it doesn't really make sense. And from that, like a few years, this is like a few years ago now, I always had this kind of like dream that someone would like build me a tool where I didn't have to spreadsheet my LinkedIn messages anymore. Yeah, fast forward a few years, right opportunity opened up for me to like start my own thing, and I was like, let's go build this tool that I've always wanted and see how far we get with it, right? And at first I was like, I'm pretty sure I can get 50 people pay for it. I'm not sure if we can get 100. I'm not sure if we can get 1,000. But yeah, it's been a year and a half, and we have like thousands of people like using and paying for this thing, including yourself. Thanks for being a customer.
Yep.
And
a happy customer. Yeah.
And that's how we got a Kondo. And what Kondo is essentially plugs into your direct messages. Right now it does LinkedIn. We also have plans to do other things like WhatsApp, Instagram, like other forms of basically all these chat platforms, which are built mainly for end consumers rather than business professionals who are like making money on these platforms, right? And with Kondo plugs into these things and turns into something that's like much more productive. Like imagine email, right? You have folders, you can set reminders, you can save message templates. You basically have like a surface that helps you like stay focused and be productive. So that's one thing. And then you mentioned Claude, Billy. So another thing that's hard about these chat platforms is that they are like owned by big companies, and these big companies have no incentive to innovate, right? You have no incentive to open up their platforms to interact with like an ecosystem of tools, right? Like you're not going to stop using iMessage ever, just because they don't have some connection with Claude or ChatGPT, right? Like it just comes with the hardware. So the big companies don't have, or even like WhatsApp or owned by Facebook, right? They're a bit more like tech forward, but like they basically, it's like a monopolistic market where it's just like huge like network effects, and they have no incentive to innovate on their products, and that's fine for a vast majority of users, but not fine for like the 1% of like power users who are like, oh my god, I have hundreds of messages, what am I going to do with them, right? And so Kondo, because we're also like a new surface for messages, and we're like all about productivity, also lets you like plug a Claude in and think about this as like a way for your assistants to work, right? So like some personal assistants or human assistants use Kondo to help, their principals like manage the inbox, but now you can get Claude also to triage your messages. Hey, like I got 100 messages today. Who are the 5 people that I really should go talk to, right? And then I'll go talk, like once it finds the 5 people for you, you'll go talk to them yourself. But like there are also like 50 people who are like selling me random shit I don't need. So just go get rid of them, right? So yeah, Kondo basically unlocks this kind of connection to assistants, both human and AI. And so that's kind of like what we're building here, and the kind of impact we want to make on the world.
Well, and I think that's I personally know, as you mentioned before, this is something that has helped in terms of being an efficiency and a productivity gainer, and also too because there are so many people that are watching or listening that are interested in like, how do I start to build relationships with people, do it in a way that is also like discreet, allows me to really ask the questions that need to be asked. And as I'm thinking about this side business, what's the best channel? And since so many of the listeners and the viewers of the Go Along family invest a lot of time on LinkedIn platform, thought, hey, listen, you know what? This is another way that you can distribute or connect with and have more conversations and do it in a way that's much more efficient. But there's something that you said from the beginning, and I'm always interested in tapping into the mindset. You mentioned that you had this experience in Santiago, Chile.
Mhm.
That there was, the U.S. experience, but also to help us understand. Like I was born in the U.S. and I've traveled to 90 different countries. I've lived in 4 different countries in the last 25 years. So it's really shaped my worldview. So the example that you gave, like, hey, traditional roles in the U.S. versus like
Mhm.
living in Spain or living in France. So can you give us a little bit more about how that's impacted you, and also too, like, where was your birthplace and where have you
I was
kind of traveled
yeah.
around?
Yeah, I grew up in Singapore. Did high school there. So, served the military. Singapore has like a, like conscription,
Hmm.
like a national reserve, like a
Yep.
defense force thing. Yep. And then went to school in the East Coast in the U.S. and then did history, like in libraries, right?
Yep.
And then moved back to Singapore for a while, but now like home for me is Los Angeles. Enjoying the California weather. But yeah, so that's where I've been. How that's impacted me,
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it's hard to say, right? Because like I definitely don't fully fit into like American culture,
Hmm.
maybe, right? But neither am I, like, truly at home in Singapore, because I've been abroad for so many years, and
Yeah.
like most of my friends there are like doctors and lawyers, or like they work for the government, and
Yeah.
like all they can talk about all day is like like politics
Yeah.
in medicine and law and just, like, stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm checked out. Like, I have
I
no
want to talk
clue.
about other stuff. I want to
Yeah.
help people solve problems. I want to solve problems. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like quite rare, like quite odd to be like an entrepreneur. I think, like, if you, like, follow the kind of like proven path in a, like, Singapore society. Um, and where, yeah, I think maybe the one thing that background has led me to is, like, I I had to, like, forge my own path, right?
Mm,
And um make decisions that are not based on like what are most people doing.
mm, yeah.
um and like more like what makes sense. Like, I had to, like, go figure out what makes sense for me,
Yep.
given, like, the opportunities and constraints before me, and like pick my own path, right? And take some risk in that, because maybe no one has walked that exact same path, and no one can truly tell me how it's going to go. But, like, like, we made some common sense decisions about, yeah, like, risk and reward, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, Mitchell, that's a great spot, because in sometimes when we see things from a different light, it's really helpful. It makes me think a lot about my corporate experience, and there were moments where I worked in a particular industry, and when you go in and you speak to the C-level of a certain industry, they say, well, yeah, I don't need to hear any more about my industry. I live it every single day. Bring me ideas from other industries that I can now
Hmm.
bring into mine. So you made me
Hmm.
think about something, because it's in a very similar way that a lot of our going along family are in high paying roles, and
Hmm.
the roles you're in a high paying role, and at a certain point, there's lots of benefits, and you have the nice German sports car, and you have the greatest health plan, and you're making 6 and sometimes 7-figure bonus checks. And so it's very easy to fall into a place where, okay, this is what I'm going to continue to do. You gave a really good example, like some of your friends, they're doing the same thing and talking about the same thing. So there can be a real big perceived risk of saying, hey, look, you're living the perfect life here. Like, why
Hmm.
would you ever consider doing
Hmm.
something else? And there's a lot of
Hmm.
emotion that goes with that. It's not easy
Hmm.
when people say, well, yeah, you're earning a lot of money, you've got the great role, you're working for this big company, but it's something that you went through. It's something that I definitely went through. And unless we hear somebody else's kind of how they dealt with the risk reward, we think that we're on an island by ourselves. But it would be great if you could maybe talk through some of that when
Hmm.
you talk about risk reward, and how you
Sure.
measured that, and how you looked at that, just to help other viewers and listeners realize that yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah. Okay. So, first, to be clear, I've never owned a Malibu mansion, or driven the German sports car. Okay. So,
Okay,
like,
I've never earned the mansion. I've never earned the mansion.
point number one. Okay? So, like, if you're out there listening, going like, okay, like, like, sorry, like, I don't understand your life. So, yeah, I
Fairly
no
qualified. Fairly qualified.
noted, right. So, so there's that. But, and I mean, I think the answer to that is, like, if you're really happy with, like, what you've gotten in a corporate life, then, like, then why question it, right? Like,
Mm,
like, there's no reason. Like,
yeah,
good for you, right?
yeah.
Like, happy for you, right? Like, so I don't think definitely need to reconsider that. I think the question is like if you're not happy for whatever
Yeah.
reason, right? And then like why are you not happy? It's probably something to do with like, like you feel like is this like some are you going to leave some meaningful impact in the world, right? Like
Mm.
is your best life really, like ultimately like basically managing like a complex like people organization and like navigating like internal kind of politics, right? And again, it's like that you get a lot of meaning out of that. You should just do that. And I would say maybe my bosses at my first job, who've been there for 20, 25 years, I mean, some of them actually like were perfectly fine with that. They're like,
Yeah.
My job's a job. I work 6 hours a day, and then I get paid a lot of money, and then I have a nice house, and I have kids, and I'll go spend my time with kids, and they were happy, right? But I guess
Mm.
for me, like as like a younger person, working under them, I was like, I don't honestly, I don't want to be them in 20 years.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like I don't want I don't want my work to be something that only generates like income so that I can live life in the time I'm not working. Even though like the work might be somewhat interesting, but like if it was not like something that was so deeply meaningful to me that I wasn't counting hours or
Yeah.
seeing it as like this like separate part of my life, then like that's not something I aspire towards. I'm not saying that that's a bad kind of like a setup of life. I'm just saying it's not like from my experience, I didn't see myself being there. That's number
Yeah.
one. Number
Mhm.
two, world changes a lot, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And like, yeah, like, I don't know, like, and we can probably talk endlessly about AI in the world, but yeah, I mean, we're seeing like large changes in reasonably large corporations where the necessity of having like large organizations and like people managers to run high growth, like high revenue company, like these are being called into question, right? Like the world
Mhm.
changes really quickly.
Yep.
Like for example, my first job, we were like basically writing. We're consultants, right? We're selling slide decks for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
Honestly, some of those analyses could be done today by Opus, 4.6, right?
Yeah.
Like there are. I don't think all jobs in the world have changed, but some of them certainly will and already have, right? And so, is like being in like a stable, established storied environment, right? Like the blessed place to see like go along with where the world's headed. Don't know, right? Like, and I think you have to answer like people should answer these questions for themselves. But one thing I was very clear on, like in the pandemic, like years into my consulting job, doing like performing reason, like I could do my job, in my sleep at that point. I was like pretty good at it. But I
Mhm.
was like, I want to optimize for like, ideas ahead of me in my career. Like I want to optimize, I want to be in a position where I I basically like have like 5 to 10x learnings every year. Like
Mhm.
I basically grow in like the things I know how to do, the things I've seen,
Yep.
right? Like I'm fundamentally becoming better in some way as like a professional,
Yep.
because I'm pushed to like learn things I didn't know at all like before. And being a consultant was not a good environment to do that. I was just going to learn to like get like a bit better and a bit better and a bit better at the same thing until like I was like the best at that thing. But we were advising clients on marketing. I had never owned a marketing budget end to end myself, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to go do that, right? And we were advising on product innovation. I hadn't owned like a full product development lifecycle from start to
Mhm.
end, right? I want to go do that, right?
Yeah.
We're working with large companies, but what happens if you're a small company? What happens if you're like $1 million company, right? Like you can't go hire consultants and you can't go hire like a million agencies to go do this. Like, how do you make it work, right?
Yeah.
So I want to like be on the edge of these learnings, and I think that's still what I'm optimizing for today,
Mhm.
right? I want to be in an environment where I'm constantly forced to like
Mm.
learn new things, and I think like being an entrepreneur is like a great way to do that because if you don't learn new things, you will die. There is no
Yeah.
like there's no brand legacy or there's no like like moat. You have to go build it from scratch, and so yeah, you either get ahead or you're dead, and so that kind of forces you to like like basically be at the cutting edge of like innovation. And I think that's probably the guiding principle in choices I make. Right, I'm optimizing like I want to learn, and like the highest learn ramp up, I will chase
Yep.
that, and at the time where I'm not learning anymore, I could go join a company tomorrow because I think I could learn a lot from that, right? But like when the learning stops, then it's time to move on.
Yeah, so it's it's really interesting.
Uh,
So it's having this idea of what is the reward that you're seeking,
mhm,
knowing what the risks are. Maybe for you at the time it was regret. For someone else it is the risk of could potentially be the same thing, losing your time or not being able to build a legacy. Whatever the case may be, we're constantly looking at, as long as we're intentional about it. And this is sometimes you can easily just go through when you're in a very large corporate machine. And I maybe put my hand up, was that way for a little bit. It's easy just to kind of go with the flow sort of thing and not be intentional about what is your next step and what do you really want to learn. And do you want to have a 2x growth or do you want to have a 5x growth or whatever the case may be, but you're doing that. And so also too, one of the things that I really like about your story, and I see it being extremely relatable for someone who's in, you're in that corporate role and you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't really know what I want to do next. I don't know exactly what the next step is, but I know that this voice keeps getting louder that I should be trying something new. And there can be a real tendency to say, I have to go out and solve this major problem. Like I have to solve world hunger. I'm exaggerating here a little bit, but you have to solve these really, really big things. And one of the brilliance of what I believe you've been able to do, it's taken the opposite approach. It's something that you were a part of, that was a problem that you were having, that you were looking for a solution to, but because the solution didn't actually exist, you went out and figured out how to build it. You took what you were learning in your, at least, and correct me if I'm wrong here anywhere, and you took what you were learning from company one in consultancy area, and then you took what you were learning in the startup area, and you said, "Hey, listen, let me go out and actually fix this problem that I don't see a solution to in the marketplace." Number one, did I understand the story correctly? And if so, can you talk about how that, was it scary for you to figure out? It was such a niche problem that you were wanting to figure out how to solve, that you thought, well, maybe there's not enough. It's not a big enough problem.
I think there are 2 points to make here.
Yeah.
One on risk, right? Like if you've been in corporate for a while, like, and you're thinking of starting your own thing, I think most people overestimate the risk. Like, what's the risk? You go out and do something for a few years. Okay, like, you take a dip on your income and it doesn't work out, and you just go right back and you're like, yo, I tried something, I learned a bunch of stuff, like all these ideas, I have all these new skills. But just like you'll go back to work for a big company and you'll be a bit better for it. You might even like climb a rank, right? Because you have like all this, you've tried all these other things. So I don't see that much of a risk. I mean, right? Like, I think, right? Like it is like non-zero, but like I think most people like overestimate how bad it could get. The second thing is like I think corporate, like especially like you're a corporate leader, or you've been working in corporate for a long time, you're actually like quite uniquely put, like the best startup idea. Like, look, everyone can, like, ideas are cheap. Like everyone can just like go to the internet and find ideas on what to build, right? Like what? And I was not the first one who had the idea I had. The difference is like people like, do you have insight into the kind of nuances of the problem, right? You understand like all the little small things that like you have to solve for this to be like a really, really good solution that you're building, whatever it is, right? For example, right, like if you have like hired and fired hundreds of people, you probably have like very unique view into like what it takes to like succeed in the corporate world. And so you probably make a better like career coach than like random guy, right? Just not because people don't have the general principles of what it takes to succeed in a corporate career. It's just you have seen like all the nuances of it, and that's hard. Like that's an unfair advantage. It's hard for like random guy to replicate. I'd say like the same applies to like all kinds of products and services, right? You probably see by working in a large corporation, like what are all the things you wish could be much better, and the only reason they're not much better is either a solution doesn't exist or like the internal political will didn't exist to go like get that solution, right? They're probably like think of like what you would buy, like forget like the bureaucracy, like what would you buy or make, or who would you hire that would suddenly unlock like the growth of your company. Now you don't own the company, you're like a cog in a wheel, but like you have the credibility to now go sell this to other people like yourself. And more importantly, you understand like the nuances of this problem, right? And so I'd say that's a good place to start, because like that's something you have that like got college graduate does not, right? And like I think there's money to be made there, right?
Yeah.
Basically, like you have all these insights that you might think aren't worth that much in your current environment because everyone has them, but like like there are some value in the market, right? And this is like, and if you're like, yo, this is like an obviously a big problem, and like a lot of companies have it, and we hire like 20 people to do this random stupid admin thing that really should not need 20 people to do, but why, I don't know why we still hire these 20 people, right? You should go like make a company to do that like right now, right? So I'd say like people should like lean into like insights they have, which don't seem super like unique in their current environment, but like if you like take a step back or take a step out, is like some level of insight that a vast majority of people in the world don't have, and so you're uniquely positioned to build a service for. Yeah,
I love being able to think about that, because there are these concepts of what makes you unique, and when you have this unique insight, as you talk about, or you have the nuance that maybe someone who doesn't have the same years of experience. I talk a lot about, you know, if you're using yet leveraging your career capital, right? You have this capital that you don't even think about, because everyone that you're surrounded, to your point, everyone around you has the same or similar level, and so you don't recognize how much you can shine outside of that particular environment, which is something that happens a lot. Here's one of the things that I do want to kind of use like use case, because of the people that are watching, that are listening, and they're thinking to themselves, well, yeah, you know, I have this idea, that I have this career capital that I want to continue to leverage. I spend a lot of time, or I invest many hours on LinkedIn every day. And what Mitchell described earlier, like, I feel like if I'm using it just for my normal job, but I want to start to actually branch out and do it in a way that is discreet, and also see if I could build up my own profitable business on the side. And because I know LinkedIn so well, but I actually want to see how I can leverage it more to have one-on-one conversations. How is Kondo helping today? Or maybe if you could describe to that person how they could leverage their inbox in a way that they're actually not recognizing today, because it's the similar problem that you were having that Kondo is now providing a solution for today.
Most people, like the problem with like LinkedIn is like it's like any other social media platform, is like their goals are to like suck you in and to keep you there and to waste your time, right? So that's like the default like modus operandi of like social media since the dawn of the internet's growth. So the people on LinkedIn are valuable, like the network is valuable, but there's also lots of random shit there that's like, if you want to go there and have fun, be my guest, right? But like if your goal is like, hey, I want to go start this like side hustle, I want to like explore running my own business, I want to go like, you know, like grow my network in a direction which will enable that, then you need to be like super intentional about like how you're leveraging the platform. And I think you should think about it like a salesperson does, right? Like I have a list of like 300 people that if I had like good relationships with them, it would unlock me being able to like start this business, or right, like these are the relationships I need, and I have like a target list, and and I'll go connect with these people on LinkedIn. I'll go, if these people live on Twitter or wherever they are, I go hunt them, and the first step is to like open a channel for like a back and forth conversation. Step one. And I would focus my energies on like these people, right? Like just ignore everyone else. All like there are all sorts of like random networking that's gonna show up, but that's not your goal, right? Your goal is not to like, you know, tap around. Your goal is to like go build your side hustle, right? And like you've identified these like 300 people who you want to get in like relationships with. So focus on them, and then I think, like why I was spreadsheeting my LinkedIn conversations was like I was doing sales, and you know I was like chasing these people like, you know, every few weeks, every few months, right? And you can see your side hustle, like your personal networking, that your personal networking with direction in the same way, right? Like you want to like intentionally like chase these people down. You want to intentionally like, you know, like give regular attention to you know like your conversation with these people and how they're going, right? And so I think a tool like Kondo, or honestly, like you could do this on a spreadsheet. Like I said, Kondo was my way of like getting out spreadsheeting to achieve the same outcome. You don't need Kondo. You should start with a spreadsheet or whatever, right? But like also like whatever, Kondo is like $35 a month, so like not a big expense. Just go try it, right? So like the goal here is to like be intentional with who you're spending your time on, but also like making sure that you are putting in the requisite, like persistence in communication, and doing this without incurring the overhead of like scrolling through all the random stuff that you you shouldn't be caring about, right? So I think that's the idea here. Like to instead of being like a media consumer, right? Like you like make the platform work for you, right? Like by saying the only thing I care about in this platform is like this subset of people, and I'm gonna tune everything out. And like your method of like the how you tune everything out could like it's definitely not scrolling on the feed or scrolling in your inbox on LinkedIn. It might be a spreadsheet. It might be a tool like Kondo. It might be something else. But like that's the mindset, right? Of like I'm hunting here. I'm not, like just like sitting around and like watching things happen.
Yeah, it's about being very intentional, and when you come back to it, it is you're already you're a busy executive, senior leader in your company. You want to build and be very intentional about the new relationships that you want to build. I can tell you, for me, it has helped me enormously in terms of the way that I focus, in terms of the way that I continue to build relationships, and it's one of those things where it's something that I've gotten lots of value out of. It's helped me to be much more intentional. And I know, had I known about a solution like this one before, when I was in my corporate role, now I'm on the other side, of course, would have been something to help me, one, be very much more intentional, and also two, much more productive. Because at the end of the day, we all have the same 168 hours in a week. And if we can get the more results with less time, it allows us to do the things with the people that we love the most when we want to do it the most. So in Mitchell and I, the time like super flies by, but there's something I wanted to ask you, because I realized that I used to think, while I was in my corporate career, most of like traveling around life, things always went in the perfect, what other people looking from the outside was like, hey, look, this continues to go in the right direction all the time. Well, in 2023, a couple things happened for me, and it really changed life for me. And it helped me realize something that I hadn't been really, really aware of in the beginning, is that when things tend to go well, we don't tend to think about it too much because we're like riding this high and everything's going really, really well. And so, but the thing is when things are not going well, or maybe let's say they're going really, really bad, it can be really easy to get stuck in that place of going, things are going to stay long and stay bad for a really, really long time. And the friends, the family members that were there were helping and giving me lots of support and love and things like that. That was all really good. But it wasn't until like I actually looked myself in the mirror one day, like literally, and was like, hey, listen, and I said something to myself. And that thing that I said to myself, it's the thing that I say to myself all the time when I feel that things are going not according to plan. And it helps me to get back on track and move in the right direction. So what I would love, like as a scenario, what I would love for you to think about, Mitchell, is what the track that you're on now, 3 years from now, you're looking back at Mitchell in 2026. Yes, I did timestamp this episode. But imagine Mitchell 3 years from now is looking back, and you're in one of those moments where, things are not going exactly where they need to be going, and people are telling you all these different things, but you have to say something to yourself to actually get you to move. It's that one sentence, it's that one word, it's that one whatever thing that you need to tell yourself. But if you can think of what that one thing that you will tell yourself that is going to help you move to the next level and snap out of it, and also share with the Going Long family, what's that one thing that you need to say to yourself that you'll look back and say, thanks for telling me that, Mitchell?
No one who has like, gotten like anything, any measure of like real success in life has done it without pain, right? Like it's like you. As anyone who is like climbed the highest peaks, right, like done so without some degree of of a setback along the way.
Mm.
And so I think that like we embrace like there's also like a sales, like salespeople, like being in sales is rough, like you call 100 people and 99 people say no to you.
Yeah.
But if you don't do the 99 people say no to you and you give up, then you won't get the one guy, right? So I think that like the pain is en route to like something more, and like if you don't stay alive, then you're not going to get to the end. So like I think that's what I would say to myself.
Okay.
And what I have said to myself. Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that perspective. And, you don't get any reward without going through the pain. So this is a part of the process. It makes me think about the founder of NVIDIA said something very similar to that. And it's so true. So, yeah, I mean, I like this conversation has literally flown by. And I think about, just you starting off when you're telling us about your story and being in the libraries and going from libraries to the history, and then from history to getting into marketing consultancy and really being able to understand more about cultures and traveling. And you talked about as you travel, your trip to Santiago, Chile, which really helped to give you some different perspectives about the way that you think about things. And then afterwards we go into a global shutdown with COVID, and you think to yourself, all right, well, I'm in this one type of role, but I also want to get other skill sets, and understood more about what it was like to be in the tech startup space. And then from there, as you're going into your continued sales role, you're spending a lot of time or investing a lot of time on LinkedIn, and you're realizing you're doing a lot of these different manual processes, and you wanted to be able to be more efficient. And well, there was a certain moment in life where you had this opportunity to say, hey, listen, this tool, nothing is helping me. I want to fix this myself. And so then you took the initiative to go out and be able to say, hey, listen, since no one else is going to build a tool, let me build the tool. And you thought, well, maybe let's see if we can get one person to pay for this. Well, maybe now there are 100 people, and now there's 500, and now there's 1,000. Now there's lots and lots and lots more around the globe. And I get to the point where you start to think to yourself, wow, you know what? You've even helped us understand that along the way, you can find a really unique niche, create a solution for it, and be able to serve others in the way that makes the most sense for you. And so, yes, the entire Going Long family wants to know. They're like, Billy, just ask him the question. And I do ask this question all the time. And so I'm going to ask you as well, Mitchell. Help us understand how we can find out more about you, find out more about what you have going on at Kondo or trykondo.com, so that we can be in touch with you, please.
So to find out more about Kondo, trykondo.com. Right. And then, if you sign up, I'll be sure to hit you up, and then you'll have my email and you'll have my LinkedIn, and we'll go chat. If not, just look me on LinkedIn. I have a little post box next to my name. And yeah, I mean, the internet, man. Just like if you really want to, if you want to get in touch, use the internet.
Yeah, Mitchell makes it really, really easy. Hey, listen, also too, I will say this, but because for the first time ever, Mitchell's done something cool for us with the Going Long family. We're going to include in the show notes as well a little link that you can select, and he's done something special for our Going Long family, and you can check it out there. We'll include the link. And when you reach out to Mitchell also too, because this is an inbox thing, when you reach out to him on LinkedIn, please make sure that you send him a personalized invitation and let him know that you've already invested time, like listening to the episode or watching the episode. I'm sure you have really, really great things to connect with one another, talk about. And also, Mitchell, I just want to say on behalf of the entire Going Long family, thank you very, very much for deciding to invest your time with us and share a little bit of your story. Really appreciate it, man.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Perfect. Going Long family, thanks so much. I really appreciate you listening in. Go out and make it a great day. And thank you very, very much.